Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, gratefully recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means share it with anybody that might get something out of it. Other than that, guys, happy, what is today? Wednesday. God, all the days are bleeding in. What a beautiful day, guys. It was a little rainy this morning, turned into a nice day. I finished up my work. How my days go today, guys. My days are so free of the stress of, just all the nonsense, chasing drugs and being sick and, pissing away all my money. Instead, today, I get to watch it accumulate in my bank account. I get opportunities to also go, just to do basically anything I want. And I have the program to fall back on the days when my addiction wants to try and creep back in, because, guys, it does that, believe me. But the more you work a spiritual recovery program, the less it will happen and the more control you will have over it. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, guys. The title of the reading today is When My Disease is Talking. Our disease is so cunning that it can get us into impossible situations. Some of us may say, quote unquote, my disease is talking to me. Others say, my head won't turn off. And still others refer to the committee in my mind, or the 800-pound gorilla on my back, as I like to call it. Let's face it, we suffer from an incurable disease that continues to affect us even in recovery. Our disease gives us warped information about what's going on in our lives. It tells us not to look at ourselves because what we'll see is too scary. Sometimes it tells us we are not responsible for ourselves or our actions, and other times it tells us that everything wrong in the world is our fault. Our disease tricks us into trusting it. The recovery program provides us with many voices that can counter our addiction, voices that we can trust. We can call our peers for a reality check. We can listen to the voice of a fellow recovering addict who is clean. The ultimate solution is to work the program and draw on the strength of our higher power to get us through those times when our disease is talking to us. And the affirmation is, just for today, I will ignore the voice of my addiction. I will listen to the voice of my program and a power greater than myself. And guys, that's what makes the difference in recovery, guys. Any of us can manage to, whatever. I shouldn't say any of us can manage to, but it's one thing to put the drugs down, is what I'm trying to say. And that doesn't help you create a defense against picking them back up. And that is certainly what has caused me to do that whole cycle of attempting to get clean, working so hard to try and put my life back together, only to turn around and piss it away. And the biggest thing is, guys, I was never working a spiritual recovery program. So even at best, I was still out there breaking laws because I wasn't holding myself to a higher set of standards. I wasn't holding myself accountable. So I didn't have any defenses against all my other bad behaviors, or particularly when my disease was making me think something that was a horrible idea sounded like a good idea. And I hear that very, very often from a lot of different people and from many different walks of life. And that's the beauty of working a recovery program, guys. You get to see how the things that you may not recognize in your own life that are triggers or traps or situations that you that might drag you back into trouble, you get to see other people go through those things, and you get the benefit of their either past experience with it, or you get the solution that they have found that may also apply to your situation, whether it be a direct or in a roundabout kind of way, you know what I mean, the same general notion, not exactly specific situations, but there's a lot of generalities. Every one of us is different, and every one of our path is going to be specific to us. But when you are around recovery and you're around other people working a recovery program while you're working a recovery program, guys, there's strength in numbers. I mean, that's true across the board in any situation. I get so much good advice, and it's one thing you hear me say every Friday is, "Oh, I love my meeting, the wisdom in that room." And that's absolutely true. I don't say it to pipe, to puff anybody up. I say it because it's true. In the beginning, guys, going to meetings can be a chore, and I was willing to this time around because I knew I needed to. It wasn't because I wanted to, but I knew I needed to. But when you start working a real recovery program and you realize the value of being around others that have succeeded in doing what you're trying to do, you will develop the willingness. And then if you keep coming and you're being 100% honest and you're really trying to work your program, you're going to start forming friendships that could end up being lifelong friendships. But you're going to start forming bonds with people. You're going to be there on their worst days. They're going to be there for you on your worst days, right? And then you get to celebrate together on everybody's good days. There's just so much power in that, guys. Left alone, as I've said so many times and so many others have said, this is on me, this is me regurgitating. The disease of addiction is a very isolating and very lonely disease, and that's exactly where it wants you, because again, it'll find you at your weakest moment. It'll apply false beliefs onto you so that you'll start getting upset with situations you have no reason to be upset with, and then you'll be under that added stress, and you'll be that much more apt to go back out and use. You've got to look at the disease of addiction as a physical thing, a spiritual thing, an emotional thing, and a mental thing, because that's what it is. Now again, I find the spiritual cure is the one that makes the difference, because the spiritual cure encompasses all those areas. And that's the key, guys. You've got to understand that if you're anything like I was out there, it was controlling every aspect of my life. Even areas that I thought I was doing well in, I was not, because again, I was working with a broken, askew set of variables. I was trying to, in any given area of my life, I couldn't face anything head on, because I didn't have this qualification, or I had this hanging above me, or I had this holding me back, or I'd done this and I'd want him to know this. And guys, you can't move forward. The mental anguish I had to just put up with on a daily basis, just trying to remember whom I told what to. And so many oftentimes I would say something and realize as soon as I said it that I just got myself screwed in this direction, and now I got to watch out for this repercussion. It is so incredibly freeing to not have to worry about those things today, guys. And then on top of that, it frees up all this time and all this energy where you can start inviting good things into your life. Like, I never had the time. It's funny, I was talking to somebody, and this actually does go into what I was saying. Just before I got clean last year, the person that got me to say a prayer, and I was really withered away. And when she had asked me to send her a picture of myself, I was horrified, and it really bothered me. And I said in passing, like, I got to start going back to the gym. And she kind of laughed, because at the time I was working 80 to 90 hours a week, and she's like, how the hell are you going to go to the gym? You go to work at 4 in the morning, you don't get home till 9 o'clock at night, and then you're on the phone with me till I put you to bed at 10. I wasn't going to bed. I'd hang up the phone and go online and be up all night. But I was lying to her about that too, because that's what I did. When I was confronted with something, and I had to, somebody wanted better for me, and I wasn't willing to do it, I just lied. That was my baseline. Like, I didn't see any value in telling anybody the truth. And how do you build an honest relationship and honest anything with somebody when your fallback is just to lie rather than sharing anything true? But that was my baseline to everybody. I didn't know how to be honest. I didn't know how to be honest with myself. And therefore, how do you stop building anything together? But like I said, I wanted to go to the gym. I should have known at that point full well I wasn't going to do so on heroin. You don't see a lot of people strung out on heroin go to the gym, because it's literally just the drug itself, and your body will keep you from building muscle. It warps your entire medical system. Like, I am so much healthier today, physically from going to the gym, physically from eating better, taking proper care of myself, sleeping, showering, being clean, wearing clean clothes, going to doctor's appointments and getting my blood work done and my blood pressure checked regularly, and getting teeth in my head. Guys, I'm embarrassed to say it, but I'm willing to admit now, I had my teeth removed to get dentures. Oh, God, it's got to be over 3 years ago now, right? But I got into it with the doctor's appointment because I was more worried about showing up there high as a kite and smoking crack in the bathroom of the place while my procedures were getting done. Now, granted, yes, the doctor wasn't the greatest, and they didn't do a good job, but I didn't speak up and I didn't advocate for myself. I allowed it to happen. I said to my wife a month before I got my teeth to her, I still have broken pieces of tooth in my mouth when they made the mold, but I didn't say anything to them. I could have cut all that off, and because of it, the teeth lining up, I literally could not. They didn't fit. I could not wear them. So for 2 years of my life, I had nothing. I couldn't wear them and eat. I learned to eat food with no teeth. So then this time around, when I got my teeth implanted in, it took me a long time to get used to eating with them things. But guys, just the embarrassment of like the lisp and the talking, and guys, it was absolutely terrifying. It was horrifying. But I allowed that to happen because I was more worried about getting high. Like, it was terrible, the decisions I made. I look back on them now, and I can't even believe that I allowed these things to happen. Because when I started doing well, and again, for the first 4 months of making videos, whatever it was, I think about 4 months, I didn't have a tooth in my head. I just recently got them a few months back. But that's just one more area, and that was one of the things I knew. This is how deep my faith is. God said to me, and as I was I was mulling over starting the YouTube channel immediately because I knew I had to. I wanted to show the progression of what recovery could look like if worked hard, and I fully believed that I was going to do well with it. I was terrified to get on camera with no teeth in my mouth. I didn't like the way I talked. I certainly didn't. I would try to hide it, but when I meditated on it, the intuitive nudge I got was, no, if you're going to show the progression, you've got to be upfront, honest, and authentic, and just share the experience, share the story, share the journey. And guys, I've done so honestly. If you go back and look at my earlier videos, like, it's amazing. But and I'm not perfect. I'm sure I could do better in other areas. But as I expose them, I try to. And the one thing I don't do, guys, I have very little problems with fighting my disease today because I work a spiritual recovery program daily. Throughout my day, like I said, I start my day deep in prayer every morning, thanking my higher power, whom I used to call God, for another day sober, an opportunity to go out and start building, right? I've tried to take other people's point of view and meet them halfway and be a fair, compassionate, understanding, kind human being. I go out of my way to do as much outreach work as I can to work with another addict suffering or early recovery. And then I come home, I research the readings for my videos and see how they apply them to my life. And then I go out and I cook home cooked meals. I don't eat fast food. I don't eat processed meals. I don't eat microwave meals. I cook real food. I go to the gym at least 5 days a week. I go to my doctors. I do all these things. And then I come home at night and I end my night in prayer, in gratitude. And then I meditate on the day and what I should be doing for the next day. And this is why. It's not only giving me a physical 3D life reality that is shockingly different than what I'm used to living for decades, but my body has responded in ways that, because again, that's one thing I said to God in prayer was, God, I don't know how much permanent damage I've done. I don't know how bad my brain is. Am I ever going to be as sharp as I once was? I look decrepit. I look like the Crypt Keeper. I look like I'm 100 years old. And granted, I'm still what I am, but you look at the culmination, guys. Everybody tells me constantly they can't believe how much younger, stronger, and healthier I look. When I look at myself in these videos, I don't see the sunken in eyeballs. I don't see the decrepit, I'm proud of who I am today because it's honest and I've worked hard for it and I've done it hand in hand with God. And I have tools. When my addiction speaks up today, I recognize it because I'm living and working a spiritual program. And that makes me feel good, and I have that baseline of no stress. I'm not stressed out. I have my day-to-day life in life terms. Of course, everybody does. But that's nothing compared to the nonsense that I'm used to dealing with a raging addiction going on in my life. And I feel the differences of it now. And when I start to step out of line, when my addiction is talking to me, if I don't catch it immediately, before I take 2 steps, I know full well what it is, an old behavior creeping back up. And that's how I've always described it. When I catch an old behavior, which is what I'm talking about here, that's when my addiction's talking to me. It is so glaringly obvious because I'm used to talking with my higher power, God, and that feels good. That feels confident. That feels like I'm making good decisions. And all of a sudden, the devil, my addiction, the disease is talking to me. It's glaringly obvious because it feels so out of line. it doesn't feel good. Like literally, it's like, ooh, that's an old behavior. Ooh, that's an old thought, and it will get that easy. But it wasn't that easy day one. Day one, I literally had to stop before I reacted and digest and think. Like, okay, if I didn't have an immediate answer, I would do the opposite of my initial reaction because all my initial reactions were wrong. That's how far gone I've been down the path of addiction, and I can gladly say that today because it's no longer applies. It's no longer the baseline of my life. Guys, every one of you can walk away and beat addiction. Again, you never walk away fully because it's daily. It requires a daily cure. You've got to treat your addiction with a spiritual cure daily. But so long as you do, and you just incorporate that into your life. Now you can do it any way you want, but the more you incorporate into your life and you make yourself, you surrender your will to your higher power, and that's one thing I do multiple times a day. And to the best of my ability, I try to live up to God's will for me. And so long as I do, guys, my life is just building in ways I never dreamed possible. All the things I thought that I had excluded myself from that were positive are being fulfilled one after the other, and it's absolutely amazing. And I want the same for each and every one of you. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me today. That's the video for the day. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. We'll see you tomorrow in the next one.